Here I am. I was looking, when you said mentioning books, I went, oh crap, the books aren't in my office. I'm running all over trying to find copies of them. Hi, you guys. I'm Michael. I'm the founder and CEO of Taxi. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary on the 15th of this month, if you can believe that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Um, really, really proud of the work we do. Even more proud of the fact that more of our members are having success. And one of the things that we've noticed over the last year, we have been doing these new member Zooms because we noticed that there was a pattern that virtually 100% of our successful members were doing a lot of the same things, almost exactly the same things, and asking a lot of the same questions. And it's like, excuse me, one day it occurred to me, I went, wow, why should we let some of the members learn this stuff on their own over a period of time? Why don't we give them all this stuff that the successful members have figured out, give it to them right in the beginning of their membership to save them a lot of time and effort and help them become more successful more quickly. That said, the chances of you, having any sort of success right out of the gate, well, it does happen on rare occasions, doesn't happen very often. If you have the fantasy, oh boy, I joined Taxi, I'm going to send in a CD's worth of material that I did 2 years ago and sold 25 copies, but maybe Taxi can help me get this thing off the ground, and send it in and expect the pearly gates to open up and the private jet to land in your backyard. Don't hold your breath. Probably not going to happen. But, as two of our members have often reminded me, and people talk about it all the time at our convention, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It does take time. You'll have to be patient. There will be times that you'll be pissed off at our screeners and go, what do these guys know? And then you don't look at the critique for a few days or a week, and you go back to it and go, it's kind of right about this or right about that. We just did a 30th anniversary show on Monday on YouTube. We do TAXITV every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And that's one of the things that people say, a lot of people say, has helped them become successful. And it's kind of, it's not like a typical school, but people love the education they get. And so many of the comments that we got under Monday's video of the 30th anniversary show were people talking more about the educational aspect of Taxi than they were about the opportunities that we put in their email box every day. I found that pleasantly surprising, in a good way. I mean, it's always been about the opportunities. The education wasn't something that I really thought about much when I started the company, but it's become a big thing, and the education helps more members become successful. So yay. I believe that joining Taxi will help you become more successful in the industry in general. It's not just about, hey, here's how you can make that song better. Here's how you can make an instrumental better. It's about learning the etiquette of the industry, learning the language of the industry. People freak out the first time they get a deal offer emailed to them from somebody at a production music library, which, if you don't know already, is just a film and TV music specific publisher. Our members freak out. They get an email like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? It is basically like communicating with anybody else. It's not some big scary CEO sitting in an ivory tower somewhere, so we teach all that stuff. Anyway, we want you to succeed, and we do everything we can to help you do so. And I know this sounds a little corny to say, but you guys are already at the head of the class just by showing up for this. All the members who don't watch this are going to be basically 6 months to a year behind you in that education that's so important and integral part of succeeding with Taxi. Also, you should know that one thing that we are kind of famous for, and I'm very proud of it, is we have an incredibly good staff, and they give incredibly good customer service to our members. So just know, if you have a question, we're here 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. We have an incredibly good team of people, and they will actually pick up a phone and talk to you like a human being. They will walk you through uploading your music if you're having a hard time. They'll answer a question about a critique. We have a head screener who's in charge of all the other screeners, who looks at their work every single day of the year to make sure that they're staying on task. So yeah, you'll be well taken care of. Just use it. It's like a gym. You know what? I signed up for a gym back in 1994 and I went 6 times. I didn't lose any weight. How did that happen? I do not know. Anyway, we're very proud of the fact that our customer service is so good. So let me jump right in with my first tip. And that is, if you don't know the opportunities exist, you can't be successful. So make sure you open those pesky emails you're going to get every day, except for Christmas Day and Easter Day. I know, oh gosh, there's another email from Taxi. But you know, our listings have never been as good as they are now over 30 years. We're going through like a renaissance period for the last couple of years. Great staff, best crew of screeners we've ever had, best listings we've ever had, best bunch of companies that we're working with. You guys joined at a really good time, but if you don't look at the listings every day, you're not going to know, you know, and you can't get signed if you don't pitch. So just take 5 minutes every day, open up that email, look at that stuff. And then, people always ask the question, well, why do I have to get 3 emails every day? I don't do heavy metal, but you guys sent me, you know, a batch of listings with heavy metal in there. The reason that we don't segregate the listings out and just send you country is because, okay, you do country, but you do country at home in your own home studio, and you use an acoustic guitar, you use a bass, maybe you overdub a slide dobro on there. All those things are elements for what could be a country instrumental for a show like Duck Dynasty, when the guys are getting ready to go down the road in the morning and the sun is coming up and you hear, wham, 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 you know, just like 5 or 10 seconds of music. Well, you don't think of yourself as a composer, but I'm sorry, the gentleman at the top of my screen that keeps doing this with your thumb, you're distracting me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, yeah, so most musicians, most songwriters don't think of themselves as composers. Don't let the word composer scare you. We have more listings in the instrumental category, I believe, than any other category. And they're in all kinds of genres. They could be country, Americana, dramedy, film trailer. You know, when you think of a composer, most people think of like, you know, John Williams conducting, you know, with his baton and somebody writing charts. But composer in the context of TV music, like when you're watching a reality TV show, that was done by people like you who are working with home studios. And sometimes it's just 2 or 3 instruments. One of the most placeable types of music, believe it or not, is solo cocktail jazz. Solo piano, cocktail jazz. Why? Because the husband and wife in this movie are going out to dinner for their anniversary. And when they do, and they're sitting in the restaurant, what do you hear behind them? Little cocktail jazz going on. And they're going to have a 2 or 3 minute conversation. It's pretty rare in TV when the camera is on the same scene or the same shot for 2 or 3 minutes. But when people are having dialogue over, you know, whether they're going out for dinner and getting ready to get divorced, or they're celebrating an anniversary, or they're falling in love, those are long shots. And the music has to stay in the shot because they're in the restaurant the whole time. So we've got members that don't get a lot of placements, but when they do, they get paid really well because the music plays for a long time. And that's part of what ASCAP and BMI calculate into the payment. So there you go. It doesn't have to be, you know, a 100-piece orchestra with a choir. Whoops, let me kill that so we don't hear ding, ding the whole time we're talking here. All right. So look at the instrumental listings because those other genres are in there. And that's another reason that we don't segregate out the listings, because if you didn't get the instrumental listings, you might not know that somebody's looking for a country instrumental or solo cocktail jazz. So it's worth getting all the listings because there will be opportunities that you would not even think that would be good for you. And when you see them, you go, oh, heck yeah, I can do that. Why am I not getting my emails on a daily basis? Stuff happens. People type in an email address incorrectly. There's a glitch in the system, whatever. If you've ever go more, like 2 days or more and don't get your emails, contact our member services people and make sure that everything is good on our end. Also, the first thing you should do is check your spam folder. It's not uncommon for new members to find that their taxi listings are going to their spam folder. If you use Gmail, they'll go into the promotions folder a lot. And you can solve that problem really easily by just taking that email, literally dragging it to your inbox, and then it'll ask you, do you want us to treat all emails from this sender like that? Yes, I do. And there you go. They won't hit your spam or your promotion anymore. Read the listings carefully. A lot of new members get what I call new memberitis. They're so excited to have this membership and have opportunities that they've never had before in their lifetime. And they just read like the first line of the listing, and it asks for, use country again, country songs with a female vocal. That's all they notice. Country songs, female vocal. I've got a country song with a female vocal. Yeah, but if you read further down the listing, it'll say country song with a female vocal, not looking for anything that's relationship or romantic based, looking for female empowerment country songs. So you've got a CD that you did 2 years ago, and you got a box full of them sitting in the garage. You go, I got a song, it's country song, female vocal. I'm going to send it in a taxi. But it's all about when I first met you and we fell in love, and then you broke my heart and you took the dog and the 6-pack of beer and all that stuff. And it's not about female empowerment. So it's unusable for that artist that's looking for that kind of song. And a lot of new members make that mistake of not looking at everything in the listing. Some people think, well, gee, that's stifling. How do I, I don't want to create music that's like, a recipe. Creating music is art, and I don't want to fill orders. I will tell you that every single one of our successful members, success could be making a few thousand a year. We've got the most money any member has ever told me they make is $280,000 a year, getting what I affectionately call stupid little instrumental cues in mostly reality TV. Took them about 7 or 8 years to get there, but $280K a year, working 8 hours a day out of a home studio, not a terrible life. What was I talking about right before that? Oh shoot, Bria, can you unmute yourself and tell me?
You're talking about people, different levels of success. You're talking.
But why? Do you remember why? It's something they all have in common.
They're all positive attitude.
They're all what?
Positive. Positive attitude.
You weren't paying attention, Bria? Come on.
I think it was about
Michael, I think you were talking about probably composing your own music instead of using the old one.
Oh, thank you.
New memberitis.
Right. New memberitis, feeling stifled by filling orders. So I've asked all of our successful members, how do you feel? Because at this point, you're basically seeing a taxi listing and you're writing to the listing, that's the fastest way to become successful with taxi, is learn how to write to the listing. And you're thinking, the muse may or may not show up. You will learn how to have the muse start showing up the more you talk to the muse. So our members tell me that it is not only not stifling and formulaic for them to work like that, but they become much faster because they start making templates with their Pro Tools or their Logic or what have you. They know which are the best bass sounds for pop. They know which are the best bass sounds for rock. They know which are the best bass sounds for whatever. And so they become very fluent with their gear and with their production techniques. And then at the end of the day, they have dinner, they finish their work for the taxi stuff, and then they can work on writing songs that come from their songwriting soul, the stuff that makes them truly happy and the artistic output that they're certainly capable of making. But now they can do it. Excuse me, I'm wheezing because I've been coughing today. No COVID. I got tested twice today because I'm going on an airplane Saturday and you need to get the test results back. Anyway, ever since the lady crammed that Q-tip up my nose, I've been coughing and sneezing. Anyway, we hear that over and over and over again, that at first it's hard. You go, how am I going to be able to create this piece of music in a couple of weeks? Because right now I might take 2 months to do that. You get faster, you get better over time, and it totally gets you acting and working like a professional. Same thing would be true if you were a chef. In the beginning, it's hard to make a really good shrimp scampi, let's say. Eventually, you can do it with your eyes shut, and your hands tied behind your back in a fraction of the amount of time. This is very much like that. I always say, jazz guys get upset with me over this. I don't know why, but they do. When I say, you know what, it's like painting houses and painting portraits at night. You paint houses by day, you're using brushes, you're having to follow the line, stay within the borders, you're mixing colors, blending colors to get the right tones, all that stuff. And then those things carry over into painting portraits at night. You learn how light affects the color, to test a color in artificial light and natural light and all that stuff. So it is exactly analogous to creating music. Anything you're doing to create these kind of formulaic, maybe instrumental cues, maybe songs for film and TV, maybe songs that you're pitching for artists, all those chops that you are developing will go toward helping you make your artistic stuff faster and better. Create music for the listing rather than pitching old material. This is something new members, again, new memberitis, they did a CD recently, or maybe even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. They decided to join Taxi, and they are now going to shoehorn those square pegs into the round holes, and they're going to read that listing looking for country with a female vocal, but non-romantic, female empowerment based lyrics. And they're going to go, well, my thing's not really female empowerment based. It really is kind of romantic, but the song is just so good. And I love it so much. And all my friends that hear it love it so much. I'm sure when I send it in, the Taxi screener is going to go, oh, well, that thing that they're actually looking for doesn't matter all that much because this song is friggin' amazing. Once they hear it, they're just going to send it right over to that music supervisor regardless. And then the music supervisor is going to call us and say, what the heck were you thinking? That's not what I need for this scene. I can't use it. The lyrics are all wrong. The sentiment is wrong. The emotion is all wrong. Why did you send it? So that's why the industry looks for a certain kind of thing, because they're trying to support an emotion in a scene. They're trying to go along with a particular storyline. So it really is important that you pay attention to the listings. I always make the analogy that when I was 14 years old, one summer I had to fill in for a woman who ran a shoe department. And I remember women would come in all the time to buy pot-de-soie pumps, dyeable pump shoes, high heel shoes that they could get dyed to match a bridesmaid dress that they were going to wear a week later at their best friend's wedding. If a lady came in and said, I need a 7.5B, 3.5-inch heel pot-de-soie pump, and I need to dye it beige to match this dress, and I brought out a box with a men's 9.5D Basswegian penny loafer in Cordovan, they'd look at me like, well, yeah, it's a shoe, but that's where it is. It's a shoe. Okay, we're in the right category, but I can't use that shoe because it doesn't match my dress. It won't fit my foot, and it doesn't have a 3.5-inch heel. So this is the same kind of thing. Give them the shoe that they asked for, and you will make money. Sign up for the Taxi forum at forums.taxi.com. That's forums with an S. Our members swear by it. And I know forums are kind of old school technology. So many people, love Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. Our forum has been around for a very, very, very long time. And there is so much good information in there. And the cool thing about it is our experienced, successful members hang out there and dispense information, that they've learned along the way that helped them become successful. They share it. It's this really weird thing. I go look at other songwriting forums, other engineering producing forums. People put music up there. Other people are like, dude, you think that's a good mix? Oh, come on. Or you think that's a good song? The Taxi crowd are the nicest, most helpful people. It's amazing. And a lot of our new members end up becoming like literally lifelong friends with some of our older members. They end up collaborating on stuff. And lo and behold, so you're a member that's only been a member now for 6 months, but you end up becoming friends and a collaborator with somebody that's been a member for 7 years. They've already got relationships at 5 or 6 different publishers that they made through Taxi. Now you're co-writing. Oh, I thought somebody was mowing the lawn. It was an airplane. So now you're collaborating with somebody that's got relationships at these companies, and your music is getting signed by them because of who you're collaborating with. And then someday when you're really well established, you'll pay it forward as well by doing the same thing that those other older, more experienced members are doing for you. It happens all the time. Honestly, if I had to take kind of a shoot from the hip guess, probably 40%-ish of the deals that happen for our members are a result of people hanging out and becoming friends with people on the forum, hanging out in the chat room during TAXITV, which is Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, except this coming Monday. We're not going to have a show. And going to the road rally. Obviously, the last couple of road rallies because of COVID haven't been physical. Typically, our road rally, which is a free convention, it's a world-class convention. People say it's the best convention for independent musicians anywhere on the planet. Other people charge $500 a ticket for it. We give it away for free. Why do we give it away for free? Because we want our members to become successful so that we can show everybody, look, Taxi works. So the more tools and more opportunities we give them, the more successful they become. The road rally, it's extremely common that you get in the elevator to go up to your room and brush your teeth between panels. And lo and behold, there's a music supervisor that was on a panel, and now you're in the elevator and you got their attention for 3 minutes. You go to the bar, which is very popular, and you hang out with other members, and the more experienced, better connected members go, oh, Jack, meet this guy. He's a publisher I've been working with now. I met him at a road rally 5 years ago. You should know him. And they turn to the publisher and go, this dude's really good. Listen to his music. This stuff really, truly happens. It's not just, I've got a song, I send it in, somebody hears it, the pearly gates open up and the private jet arrives. Doesn't really work that way. Rare occasions, but I wouldn't count on it. All these little things I'm telling you add up to success, but you can't just like make a few submissions in the beginning of your membership, get upset that you didn't get a forward, put your tail between your legs and go home, because you're never going to be successful. Bite the bullet. I don't care if you've got a voodoo doll with my face pasted on it and you stick pins in my head every night. Hang in there, be patient, and learn from what the screeners are telling you, learn from TAXITV, learn from the road rally, learn from the forum. It works. It may take a year or 2 or 3 to really start to see any traction, but it does work. And we have members, like I said, that make anywhere between a few thousand a year because they're working very part-time on it, up to other members that are in what I call the 6-figure club. Go to the forwards section of the forum, because when you're frustrated that your thing didn't get forwarded, you can go hear the music that did get forwarded by your other members. Our successful members swear by this. Sometimes they go, oh, it's a little hard to listen to this stuff because I think, oh, mine was better than that. But then I calm down and get a grip on reality and I go, I see why they got the forward and I did not. So you can check it out on the forwards section of the forum. You can also go to the forwards blog, which is an updated 5-day-a-week list of, here's this listing, here's the stuff that got forwarded, here's another listing, here's what got forwarded. So they swear by that. Also, the peer-to-peer section of the forum. I know it's scary, and I give people a lot of credit for having the courage to do this, but they'll paste up the verbiage from one of our listings and then put in a link to where people can go hear their song and say, do you guys think that I should submit this for this listing? And usually the first couple people to answer are like other new people on the forum, and they might be a little overly kind or overly generous in their lavishing of praise. Like, yeah, I love that song. It's so good. And then the more seasoned veteran members will come on and they'll say, it's pretty darn good. It's almost there, but I think that it really needs a bridge. Or notice the relationship, like when the timpani comes in, on the middle eighth section of that, it's like all you can hear is the timpani. I'd go back and look at that mix again. And the members swear, everything I'm telling you, they all swear by these things, as these are the tools and the elements that help them become successful. So now you're not hearing about it from a taxi screener who thought it was a good piece and got the timpani, went, whoa, that was just way too loud. I can't send that off, because they'll think, we don't know what we're doing over here at Taxi. So this way you can find out about the problem and fix it before you submit it. Or it just may be a bad choice of a song or an instrumental that you're going to pitch, and your fellow members will tell you that. Save you $5 in the agony of getting a return notice in your email. Wow, I'm making good time here. I think I am already on to frequently asked questions. So these are actual questions that we get all the time, and I've put them together on a little list, and I'm going to answer them for you so you don't have to ask them and you already know the answers. Number one, can I submit songs not written by me for a friend if your name is not on the copyright or would not be going on I'm about to copyright something? No, you can't, because there's a legal issue, not only a moral issue, because like you can't go into a car dealership and get two for the price of one, or get a car for every member of your family. It'd be nice if it worked that way, but it doesn't. But the legal issue is really the bigger problem. And that is, so you've got a friend, his name is Johnny, and Johnny says, dude, I saw this taxi listing because I'm on their email list. It's perfect, but I can't afford a membership. Can you send in my song for that listing? Do me a solid. Sure, man, no problem. So the song makes it past the screeners. It goes to the music supervisor working on the film. The music supervisor calls you up and says, I love your song about the sunset. I would love to use that in our film. And you go, oh, I actually sent that in for my friend. That's not my song. You will now be blacklisted with that music supervisor for the rest of your life, because if you would do that, what else would you do? And you don't have the legal right to submit that music. You just don't. Really, in the world of film and TV, you've got to own and control the copyright and the master. You could be a co-writer on it. Even if you produce stuff, which is one of my other questions in here somewhere, people ask all the time, well, I've got a studio, and when I'm not working on my own stuff, I produce stuff for other friends of mine, other local musicians. Can I submit stuff for them? No. Again, being a producer on something doesn't give you the legal right to sign on the bottom line and say, yes, you can license this song for your movie or your TV show. So just remember, the golden rule is, if your name isn't on the copyright or wouldn't be on the copyright, then don't send it in, because you don't have the legal authority to sign a music licensing deal or a record deal or a publishing deal for that other person. And people in the industry will think less of you for doing that. They really will. How many submissions does Taxi get for each listing? People always want to know, and I ask them, why do you want to know? Well, I want to know how stiff the competition is. First of all, it all depends on the listing. One of the most popular listings we ever ran was for percussion, instrumental percussion stuff, just nothing more than percussion. Quite a bit of that gets used in TV commercials. I want to say that we got 800-ish submissions for that. And kind of not surprisingly, about 40% of them made it over the quality bar, because frankly, it's not that hard to make percussion tracks. And frankly, most of the time, you're much better off making really simple percussion tracks rather than, I'm going to show them that I know all these different polyrhythms and I can do this and I can do that. Too complicated, won't work well behind an announcer's voice or under dialogue. So you want to go simple on that. And so we had 300 and some odd things that we needed to forward to this person. Nobody in the industry really wants to get an email with a file attached with 300 pieces of music, but we have that. We owe that to our members. Hey, you made it over the bar. It's not a competition. It's not like, well, drum track number 87 was much better than number 2. Who the heck would remember what number 2 even sound like by the time they're at number 87 or 125 or 321? So it's never competitive. It's always, does it meet the criteria that is asked for in the listing, and is it over the quality bar? So we reached out to that person and we said, don't mean to scare you, but we got 320 pieces of music we need to send you. They're all over the quality bar. Any one of them or any 10 of them could be exactly what you need. So how about if you're not in like an emergency situation and you need it today, how about if we send you like 50 a day for the next 6 days, or we can even alternate days so you can get it in digestible chunks? And he went, great. So that's what we do. So just know, you are never competing with your fellow members. It doesn't matter if we get 15 submissions in or if we get 1,500 submissions in, whatever is on target and good enough goes. What percentage of submissions are forwarded? There is no prescription. There's no mandate. Maybe once a year or so. I mean, literally in 30 years, I think we've probably had less than a half a dozen times in 30 years where somebody in the industry side said, send me the best 5. Again, we always default to, and 99.999% of the time, we send them everything that matches what they're asking for and is over the quality bar. So there is no actual percentage that I could tell you. For something like, the percussion stuff, it's like, 40% made it over the bar. We could run a death metal listing where we don't have a lot of members that do death metal, but the ones that do it really well. So maybe we got in 25 submissions, and out of those 25, 19 were good enough. So whatever that works out to is a percentage, somewhere around probably 60% or something like that. And then there might be another time where we get a request for a country listing, superstar on a major label looking for singles for his next album. That's going to be really, really high bar. You're competing with the best songwriters in Nashville. And I've been told that there are 30,000 songwriters in Nashville that have had something cut, and something like 9,000 that have had something in the top 20. So obviously we have to hold the bar really, really high for that. And we may get, let's say we get in, 300 submissions. We may only forward 6 for that, because we know how high that bar is and we know what Nashville's standard is. So there's just no way I can give you an honest answer, or something that wouldn't even be misleading as far as what percentage gets forwarded. And as I mentioned before, the screeners don't have a quota. I think I've already answered this, but I'm going to repeat it. What is the A&R team looking for when they're listening? They read the listing. They listen to the references, and then they try and find the stuff that, would this song or this piece of music go on a playlist with those references? Is it in that ballpark? If it is, and it's good enough, it gets forwarded. It's that simple. But aren't they looking for the best song or instrumental, Michael? Yeah, they're looking for the best stuff that fits what the listing asked for. It's painful sometimes for the screeners. I just interviewed Quentin Tarantino's music supervisor a couple months ago for our convention. And she said, yeah, I hear stuff all the time that I love it. I would put it on my playlist, but I can't use it. I can't just send it to Quentin and say, that piece of music you asked me to find for this particular scene. Sorry, Quentin, I found something that I think is the most amazing song ever written, and you should take that other song out of your movie. Well, but the other song fit the dialogue, fit the story of the movie. This thing has nothing to do with it. I don't care if it's the greatest song ever written in the history of mankind. I can't use it. So there are times where a B+ song will get forwarded and an A+ song doesn't. Why? Because the B+ song really fit the need. That's the cool thing about Taxi. You're always responding to what somebody's looking for. It's not like, oh, I wrote a bunch of great music. Here, Taxi, take it, get it out to the world. I'm sure when everybody hears it, they're going to love it. And they're going to, sign me to a deal and I'll get a private jet and I'll be famous and a ton of money and all that stuff. It just doesn't work that way. Even record labels, they're looking for specific types of songs for artists. Faith Hill will not cut a song about divorce. Why? Because it's not in her vocabulary. She's got a solid marriage, doesn't want to get divorced, doesn't want to sing about divorce because it's not happening in her life. So you may have written the greatest country song for a female artist. It's in Faith Hill's key. Anybody who listens to it could go, I could totally imagine Faith Hill singing the crap out of this thing. She'd be perfect for it, except she won't sing a song about divorce. So there are constraints attached to all this stuff, but not so bad. Everybody else in the industry is playing, all the pros in the industry are playing by these same rules. How does the screener's personal taste factor into whether or not you get forwarded? It doesn't. They're all super professional people with incredible resumes. I recommend that you go to our website, and I think it's under the About section. I'm going to check right now.
Drop the link in.
Oh, okay, great. And look at the screeners. Frankly, we're always bad about updating it, but we update it like once a year. We should be updating it every quarter or something. All of our screeners are of the caliber that you're going to see on that list. Incredible people with incredible resumes. And you might wonder, well, wow, if these people are such a big deal, why are they working at Taxi for $30 an hour screening music? It's because music supervisors don't work 365 days a year. They might be on a hit show that takes a hiatus for 4 months or takes a COVID hiatus for a year and a half. They've got time in their hands. They like to keep their hand in the game, and like to keep music coming into their ears, keeps them fresh. It's what they love to do. Same thing with A&R people at record companies. I always tell when at one point, my daughter thought maybe she wanted to be an A&R person at a record label. And I said to her, you'll have a job for 2 years. The lifespan of a typical A&R job is 2 years. Then you lose that job, and then maybe 2 years later, you get another one for a couple of years. It's not a great way to go, but we get to take advantage of the fact that so-and-so was an A&R person at Capitol Records, and now they're unemployed looking for another job. Well, wouldn't you rather make $30 an hour while you're unemployed than sitting at home watching Jeopardy? Unless you're like a really big Jeopardy fan, then you can stay home and watch Jeopardy. Does bad mood, no coffee, no nookie, or any of that factor into their attitude when they come to work? Well, first of all, they're all working remotely now. We've got 14 workstations that they used to sit at. Thank you, COVID. They're all working remotely, but people literally have asked us, well, what if somebody had a fight with their spouse right before they walked out the door? They started listening to music. We have a rule here that all of our screeners know. And that rule is, if you're having a bad day, let's say you got some tragic news, you feel sick, maybe you've got COVID, maybe you had a fight with your spouse, whatever. If you're just not on your game that day, they are told, all you have to do is tell the guy who schedules the screeners or the head screener, I'm not going to do my best work today. Can you save this work for me? Because they're all independent contractors, by the way, and they don't get paid piecemeal. They, just so you know, they don't get paid by how many things they screen, so that they're never induced to try and go through a lot of them very quickly. We don't put time pressure on them. We like them to at least break even for us, but we don't tell them you have to do this many an hour, you can't work here. And we do tell them quality over quantity is the rule of thumb. Do we look for the people that can provide both? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? So they're told, you can throw a flag on the play and just say, I'm not going to do my best work today. Can I come in and take another shot at it tomorrow? Yep, we will save this work. It'll still be waiting for you tomorrow. So you guys don't have to worry that somebody, for whatever reason, is not going to give you a fair listen. And personal taste doesn't enter into it, because they're all pros, and they know that, again, sending Quentin Tarantino a song that's the best song in the world that you absolutely love, that even Quentin would put on his playlist for his car, can't use it in the scene, so we're not going to send it to him. They know that's how they screen. It's not like, boy, I love this song, I got to send it. On rare occasions, a screener may ask us, I know this song is a little far afield from what they asked for, but it's not that far afield. Can we send it to them with a note? And yeah, we can get away with that, like 1 or 2 times a year with certain of our clients, because they trust us. We've found a lot of great music for them. And we've earned that right to say, can we push this one may be pushing the envelope. Can we send it to you as an also ran? And they'll go, sure. But we can't do that for every listing because pretty soon they're just like, oh, I could find stuff like this all day long. Why do I need Taxi? Why do I get two different critiques of the same song from two different screeners? Even though they're both listings looking for female country. Well, yeah, one of them was looking for female country about female empowerment. The other one was looking for ballad female country about a love relationship. They're both female country, different screeners looking at it through a different lens for a different purpose. So you're going to get a different critique. The follow-up question is, well, I got the same screener on two female country things about 3 weeks apart from each other. And on one of them, he said the lyric on the bridge didn't really make a lot of sense. And I might want to take a look at that. And then 3 weeks later, when he listened to it again, he talked about the melody in the first half of the verse wasn't that strong. So which one is it? It's both. The screener didn't want to repeat him or herself by saying, that the lyric in the bridge wasn't that good both times. And they probably looked at it and went, oh yeah, I remember hearing, oh yeah, I remember the lyric in the bridge needed some help in this one. Is there anything else that I can let them know? So that's why you get two different comments from the same screener on the same song 3 weeks apart. It could be that the listing is a little different, or it's probably more a case of they go, oh yeah, I remember this, and they want to give you even more information. So it's like, I can also help them by doing this. It's that kind of situation. In what order are the submissions listened to? Totally random. People often ask that question because they want to know, as soon as I see that listing, should I fire out a submission right away because I'm going to be at the front of the line? You won't be necessarily. You could end up at the front, you could end up in the middle, you could end up as dead last, and none of that makes a difference because, again, we're not working on a quota. So if you're dead last, you have 100% as much of a chance as the person who was first. We never compare the most recent thing we listened to that thing we listened to an hour ago or even yesterday. Just doesn't happen. They listen to enough music that would be virtually impossible to do. And it also wouldn't be fair because it's not a competition. So just know it doesn't matter if you submit the minute the listing comes out or an hour before the deadline closes. If the screener doesn't forward my submission and makes a suggestion to fix something, why can't I fix it and resubmit it again? Well, people are people. Oh, come on, man, let me fix this. Yeah, but we have a deadline. We need to get this to the music supervisor. Today's Monday. We need to get it in their hands by Wednesday. And if we tell you, you should rewrite the lyric, or the lyric needs help on the bridge, come on, let me fix that. I can do that. Some people would get it back to us on time. Most wouldn't. It becomes a processing nightmare. It's like the submission was listened to, but now it's in a state of limbo. We're waiting for the replacement version to come in. It doesn't. Do we have to call 17 members and say, ladies and gentlemen, there's a deadline. You're not going to make it. It's just a whole big problem. And in the real world of the music industry, not many record labels and publishers and music supervisors are going to give you that opportunity to fix something. It happens, but it's really, really rare. I've had people say, oh man, I ordered this new keyboard. It's going to be here in 2 days. I want to remix it. Sure, I remix it, but I want to lay in the keyboard part with the new keyboard. They're not going to get it back to us on time. So the answer is sadly no. And it's not just us being hard asses about it. It's just the way the industry works. But that's part of being a Taxi member, is you learn the realities of the industry, not the fantasy version of it that lives in a lot of people's heads. It's like going back to the fantasy of, but my music is so good or my song is so great, they're going to hear it. The pearly gates are going to open up and I'm going to get the private jet. Nope, sorry. How long will it take until I hear back from Taxi on a submission? Typically within 3 weeks after the deadline. 30 days officially, typically it's closer to 3 weeks. If it's something that we got an ungodly amount of submissions for, we know, we can tell by how many submissions we get on the first day and how the submissions are rolling in on the last day. we can generally tell, and we may have 3 or 4 different screeners that are super well qualified for that genre. So we'll start them a day or 2 before the deadline to make sure that we can hit our deadline for the industry client. Typically what happens is the day that thing deadlines or the day after, we start screening. So again, if a listing had a deadline of January 26th and you submitted on January 22nd, you're just going to sit there in a digital bucket waiting for the 26th or the 27th to roll around. So don't start counting that 3-week deadline or 30-day deadline from the day you submit it. Start counting it from the day the deadline hits. So 3 weeks after the deadline, sometimes 4, on rare occasions, maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 times a year, something happens, like some catastrophic thing happens for a key staff member, or the screener that was supposed to do this thing came down with COVID or whatever, you know. On rare occasions, we will, I don't know, like I said, 2, 3, 4 times a year, we may send out an email to everybody submitted saying, sorry, we've had a little catastrophe here. We're running a couple days behind. Hold tight. All is good. We'll let you know. How long will it take to hear back from the client if my song is forwarded? Let's be perfectly honest. Most of the time, you're not going to hear back. I just interviewed somebody about this recently, and I know I keep going back to Quentin Tarantino's music supervisor. It's because I just edited the interview I did with her over the weekend for our newsletter. So a lot of that stuff is still fresh in my mind. Music supervisors in particular are voracious hoarders of music. So let's use Mary Ramos, Quentin's music soup again. She's looking for an old-timey song about hitchhiking through the American West. And she hears a bunch of stuff that really isn't on target, not from us because ours would all be on target, but she hears a bunch of stuff from other sources that may not be on target, but she loves them, some of them. She puts them in a folder, songs about the Old West, and it sits there on her desktop. And it may sit there for 6 years until she works on another movie where she needs a song about cactuses, or there's a scene with somebody driving, you know, Route 66 through Nebraska, and they need a song that would work for that. So even they do not have the time. And I know that this is painful. We feel your pain at Taxi. We really do. We've all been on your side of the fence for this at one point or another in our careers. You want to know, it's like, well, if it's not right, can you tell me what I could do to improve it? So could you imagine if you're a publisher or a record label or a production music supervisor or production music library owner or music supervisor, and you know, you're getting music from Taxi and 3 or 4 publishers, and you, for my friend Frank Palazzolo is a music supervisor that once listened to 1,000 pieces of music for a single slot, you know, on a show he was working on. 1,000 pieces of music. Could you imagine, even if you were listening to only 100, which is probably a low number, if you had to reach out to every one of those people and say, oh, I'm so sorry, Tom, this is why I couldn't use it. And Tom's going to say, oh, I've got another one that would be perfect. Can I send you that one? Or so after I fix it, can I send it back to you again? They don't have the time for that. Production music library owners are, every minute of their day, they're trying to make money, and you want that to happen. If they're making money, you're making money, because it's usually a 50-50 deal that you're going to have with them. So if they're spending their time, you know, consoling you that you weren't right for them, or telling you how you can fix your stuff, that's less time that they're out there selling. So the rule of thumb in the industry is you're only going to hear from anybody if they're interested in using your music. Nobody ever said, I love this, it's perfect, I want to use it, and didn't reach out to you. So how long does it take? That was the original question. Sometimes members hear back the day we forward it. Don't hold your breath. Doesn't happen all that often. Typically in a week or 2 or 3. And I know that seems like an eternity, but don't sit there staring at your phone or your email or your, you know, your, I'm looking at a phone that's actually got a wire coming out of the back of it over there. But yeah, don't stare at this bad boy, waiting for a text to come in every 5 minutes. Just keep Here, follow this rule. Our taxi members came up with this and created a bumper sticker: write, submit, forget, and repeat. You should write this down: write, submit, forget, and repeat. You want to make a lot of music. You want to submit a lot of music. Once you submit it, forget about it. Just, it's off, it's out into the ether. I'm going to crank out another one, so that rather than having one piece of music and sitting there, staring at your phone, waiting for a text to come in, use that time to create more music, because the more pitches you make, the more shots. Who was it? Wayne Gretzky that once said, the more shots you take, the more goals you score. Great advice, Wayne. What is a production music library? I think I already said this. It is a film, TV specific publisher. It is unlike regular publishers. It's not like Warner Chappell. It's not like Sony ATV. Almost all production music library deals, especially the companies you're going to meet through Taxi, we vet these companies. We are not like any of our so-called competition that will take a listing from anywhere. We turn down more companies than we work with, because we don't want to have our members calling us up going, why did you hook me up with these people? They suck. They're rude, they're inefficient, they're unprofessional. They never get me any placements, blah, blah, blah. We vet the companies. We only work with A-list companies. They may be small. It may be a one-man operation. It's only got 2,000 tracks, but it's a really good one-person operation with 1,000 tracks. And this person's been doing it for 10 years. They've got a great reputation in the industry. We know where they get placements, and we know other members that have had success with them. You should like them too. What happens after my song is signed to a production music library, which I think I said this, but basically all those deals are more or less 50-50 deals. So just, when you took a publishing class, or a lawyer takes a music law class in college, it's like, never give your publishing away. In this case, it's okay. It's the norm. Everybody whose music is on TV has given up half of their publishing. There's the publisher share, which is half of it, and there's the writer share, which is the other half. So if your song gets used in a TV show, the publisher makes half the money and you make half the money. It's pretty equitable. And not only do they have the relationships, the connections, they know the music supervisors for many, many years. They do a lot of work cataloging this music. Some companies will actually do the mastering on the music if needed, doing the meta tagging on the music. Really, really painfully arduous process. So trust me, if you could see behind the curtain, music library owners deserve that 50%. Like I said, it's write, submit, forget, repeat. So now publisher or music library has signed your song, and tick tock, tick tock. Well, you've had it for a month. Why haven't I gotten any bites yet? Because they haven't had a request for your kind of music yet. That's how it works. They don't sign it and then call everybody they know in the industry. Hey, I just got a great new song from Bobby Smith. It'd be perfect for your movie. No, they wait for the music supervisors to reach out to them and say, do you have this kind of song for my movie? Then they go in, they search their own database of material, which they may know by heart anyway, or they search by keyword or lyrics, and they find 5 things that they think are going to put a smile on this music supervisor's face. They send it over to the music soup, and the music soup likes it or doesn't. So my point is, that was a long-winded, not getting to the point question or answer. It's another rule of thumb in the industry. If you get forwarded to a company, just keep writing and submitting. And sometimes it takes people a year or 2 to start to get any traction. But people often walk away from Taxi a year at the end of their first year. I didn't make any money, and they stop. And it's the people that hang in for 2 or 3 years that start getting some traction. They go, boy, am I glad I didn't quit at the end of my first year, because it takes time to learn the ropes. It takes time to learn how to create stuff that gets forwarded a lot. And so you've got a lot of irons in the fire. The more arrows you have in your quiver, the more irons you have in the fire, the greater your chances are. And you're not going to make a fortune on 1, 2, or 3 placements. You're going to make a fortune when eventually you've got 1,000 to 1,500 pieces of music out there signed with 15 or 20 different publishers. That's how you get into the 6-figure club. And that usually takes somewhere around 7 or 8 years of persistent and consistent work. Again, that's film and TV wise. That's a different animal than the record side of the industry. Record side of the industry, you could get a cut, on an Ariana Grande record that becomes a single, becomes a hit single, gets played on radio stations all over the world, tons of play on Spotify and other streaming services. Could you make a few $100,000 on something like that? Yes. What are the odds? Not that big. It happens, doesn't happen that often, because there are far fewer singles on Ariana Grande records than there are. Do you know, in a typical reality TV show that there are 75 to 100 pieces of music used in just one episode in an hour? So even though it pays less, there are many, many more opportunities. And the more familiar the editors using your music on those shows get with you, oh, there's Tommy Smith again. That guy's stuff is always solid. Sure, I need a dramedy piece for that. I'm going to go say, oh, there's one Tommy Smith did. Let's try that first. Yep, Tommy hit the nail on the head again. Yay. So these are all how things really work behind the scenes. Performing rights organization, ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC in America, SACEM in France. I forget what it is in Canada. Bria's going to chime in now because she's part
So
Canadian.
can.
Thank you. Anyway, they collect the money for performances, public performances of your music, if you're a songwriter or an instrumental creator. So if your song or piece of music ends up in a TV show, you get paid for that. Most of the time on a reality show, you don't get any money up front. You don't even know your music is getting used, because some editor sitting in an edit bay at 2 o'clock in the morning goes, I need a dramedy piece for 13 seconds in this scene. And they pick it out of a digital bin. They put it in there. Eventually, somebody fills out a cue sheet. The cue sheet goes to ASCAP, and ASCAP waits till the show airs. And 6 months to a year later, you're going to get a check for $4.62 because your piece of instrumental music was in a reality show for 13 seconds. So if you keep doing that over and over, keep writing, submitting, forgetting, and repeating, and get many tracks in many publishers' catalogs that end up in a lot of those digital bins and end up getting used by a lot of editors, that's how you make 6 figures. Do Taxi members have to be with a PRO? Not to join Taxi, but once you get signed by a production music library, they're going to want you to be signed to a PRO. Should I sign with ASCAP or BMI if I'm American? Some years BMI is the winner. Some years ASCAP is the winner. It goes back and forth. Currently, our members seem to be favoring BMI, that they're paying a little better. There have been time periods where ASCAP is paid better. Their formulas are a mystery to everybody, including the person that probably applies the formulas. I don't know. Nobody really understands how they calculate it. But the bottom line is, at the moment, BMI seems to be the one that's favored. But like I said, it could change in a month. It could change in a year. It could change in 3 years. I don't know. Do I need to register my copyright on this stuff before I submit it to Taxi? If you've written a song that you are hoping someday could be a hit single for an artist, absolutely copyright that. If you just wrote a 90-second piece of instrumental music that sounds like doom, 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 and it's going to get used in one of those shows with a box full of puppies licking each other and biting each other and falling all over each other while chasing a ball of yarn, don't copyright that. Nobody's going to steal it, because it on its own is not going to generate enough income that it's worth paying $150 fine, $150,000 fine, hijacking your piece of instrumental music to use somewhere else. Why would they? We had a member that was flipping out that very kind of thing. It's like, oh, somebody used my piece of instrumental music. They recreated it. Why would they? Why wouldn't they just license it from the production music library for free and know that the network pays a blanket license to ASCAP and BMI, and eventually you, the creator of the music, is going to get paid by them. Nothing comes out of their pocket. It comes out of the network pocket and through ASCAP and BMI. There is no good reason on God's green earth that anybody would want to steal an instrumental cue. So if you submit something and someday, a year later, 2 years, 3 years later, you hear something on TV and it sounds remarkably familiar, just know the chances of somebody stealing that, why would they? There's just no point. It may be that it got used in a show legally through the production music library that signed you, and they forgot, the assistant editor forgot to add it to the cue sheet. That does happen. You may have to get a little video clip of the show and send it over to your rep at ASCAP or BMI and say, go get that money for me. They used my music, and they will. What is broadcast quality? People often ask that question. People often mistakenly think that it means like a pristine recording, an incredible production, like it was done at the record plant. If it's a pop listing looking for something for an artist, well, if they're looking for like, I'm going to again use Ariana Grande just because she's my favorite default for this question. It's got to sound pretty much like an Ariana Grande record. On the other hand, they may be looking for a song that sounds like it was done by Tom Waits or Bob Dylan, and they drank a lot the night before, they chain smoked cigarettes, they mumble their lyrics, and it sounds like they recorded their stuff on a guitar that still has the original strings from the factory, and they recorded it right into their Mac laptop on GarageBand using the built-in microphone with the rusty strings, but they did get a pretty good balance on the vocal to guitar relationship. In that scenario, for that kind of music, that's broadcast quality. So it varies on the type of music. You wouldn't want to hear a Bob Dylan song that sparkles like an Ariana Grande single. It would be wrong for that. So it's all about context. It could be your vocals a little pitchy, but your recording and production are pristine and incredible. But just that little pitchiness in the vocal, music supervisor working on a movie, given the choice of using two things that are he loves or she loves equally, but this one, the vocal's a little pitchy. I kind of hear that pitchiness. They're not going to use that one. So that makes it not broadcastable, which is my own word. And it also makes it not broadcast quality. And finally, what's the fastest way to become successful with Taxi? Personally, I think it's going the instrumental route. Even if you've never done an instrumental before in your life, more of our members are successful at that because we get a lot of requests for it. Like I said, a typical reality show uses 75 to 100 pieces of music. I would place my bets there. But yeah, really, I'm a songwriter at heart. I want to get my songs cut. You don't have to stop writing songs. Use the instrumental cue thing as the launching, the platform, the launching pad to launch that other career, because you will find that your writing goes faster, gets better, and you don't have to sit there twiddling your thumbs waiting for the muse to show up. Your production chops, your organizational chops, your work ethic. We've got a member named Brandon Purcell. He's got 3 sons or 4 sons, poor guy, you know, they're all like between 12 and 18 years old or something. I imagine they've got a lot of like broken stuff in their house because boys are wild. He was a computer programmer, pretty high level programmer. The guy had a day job. He gets up at 4:30 in the morning. He does do like big orchestral pieces for movie trailers. He gets up at 4:30 in the morning and gets 2.5 hours of work done before his family shows up at the breakfast table at 7 a.m. And in less than 5 years, that guy went from having a full-time job and doing music part-time to doing music full-time and earning his living that way. Matt Vanderbo, that's a name you're going to hear a lot as a Taxi member. He's this incredibly lovable, goofy, smart, hardworking guy from a little tiny town outside of Boise, Idaho called Nampa, Idaho. He didn't have a clue, literally by his own admission. He would proudly tell you this. He turned on Pro Tools, looked at a blank screen, went, now what? He didn't know what the next thing to do on Pro Tools was. He didn't have a keyboard with black and white keys. He was playing his music on his Macintosh, his iMac keyboard, using his QWERTY keyboard to play the notes. And he wanted to be a hit songwriter. He wanted to do country. He wanted to do rock and roll. He said, oh man, all these people I'm meeting at Taxi's convention all telling me, do instrumentals. It's the way to go. So he started doing instrumentals. 5 years later, he walked away. He had a full professorship at Boise State University. He made himself a promise that the day he made more money with music, that he would walk away from that job. 5 years later, he did. And where was he producing that music? In a tool shed in his backyard with like a mid-level 5-year-old iMac, no black and white keyboard, $100, $200 microphone, $300 pair of speakers, and about $500 worth of software. Did he have a room built within a room with all kinds of acoustic treatment? No. Did he have some magical special talent? No. He could barely even write an instrumental cue, all by his own admission. If Matt were on here right now, he'd be going, right on, brother. He would totally agree with all this because I've interviewed him numerous times. But what Matt Vanderboe does is work consistently. He listens carefully to the music he hears on TV. He takes notes about it. And then he sat down and he said, all right, I'm going to pay careful attention to what this listing is asking for, and I'm going to give him that. And then he paid attention to the feedback he's getting from the screeners. He used the forum. He did all the things that I've told you today. And now he's one of our Hall of Fame members. And he got there in about 5 or 6 years. And he works 8 hours a day on his music. And someday you'll meet him at a road rally and you'll think he's totally lovable, because he is. He's just a ball of fire and a great guy. He's a guy you want to do a road trip with. Anyway, thank you for paying attention. Now let's move on to the Q&A segment of today's show. Bria is going to ask you to raise your digital hand by using that reaction thing down at the bottom of your screen. And then she's going to call on you. She will unmute you. See, Bria, I'm saving you work by telling them all this. She's going to say, Greg Smith, ask your question. I'll hear your question. I'll give you an answer. So Bria,
so in the bottom, Eric has figured it out. In the bottom, there's a button that says reactions. You can click on that, and then there's a raise hand button. So if you have any questions, do that. If you don't do that, I can't see you. So you got to do that. So Eric, Chris, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hey, thanks so much. And Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I mean, I've been away from the business for a really long time, but I've been aware of you guys for since the mid '90s, and it's really awesome that you guys are.
Well, I'm glad you're a member now, and glad that you're partaking in this, because literally all of you guys watching now are at the front of the class. So go ahead. What's your question?
So it has to do with, I mean, because I've been writing songs forever, but I'm really intrigued with the idea of being able to custom compose for film and TV, but with the kind of volume that you're talking about creating, it's just, I mean, a basic operational question, like, do the titles matter? Do you register them with the PRO as soon as they're recorded? When you're registering with ASCAP, if you don't already have a publishing deal, I mean, is it better to claim the publishing and then go ahead and revise it?
I wouldn't register this again. Not again. This is not legal advice because I'm not an attorney. Right. This is anecdotal advice that I've gotten over many years of listening to what our members do. Virtually none of them register any of their instrumental titles with a PRO. The reason is, when it gets signed by a publisher, they're going to register it. And the publishers actually prefer that it's not registered, because if it already is, then they have to go in and undo that registration or modify it to register for their publishing company name. So don't register. Trust me.
Not even for the writer share.
No, because when the publisher sends it in, they're going to say XYZ Publishing Company is the publisher for the publisher share, and Eric is gets the writer share.
Okay. So
yeah, because you can't just register with a PRO and say, oh, I'm only registering the writer share.
Well, actually, I'm in my ASCAP site now, and you can claim the writer share. For the publisher side, you can say the writer has no publisher on this work.
Right, but here's the thing: is I remember when I was helping my daughter once sign up for BMI that it did that same thing, and then she got to the next page and said, "Who's the publisher?" And she didn't have a publishing company, and so she just did, like Lasco Music Publishing or something like that, because they want to have a place to send that other half of the check.
Sure.
So there's that. But I wouldn't do it. You can ask the first couple libraries that you sign with, would you have preferred that I assigned the writer share to, or you don't assign it, but that I registered the writer share with my PRO before I submitted? I don't think they would. Frankly, it's just, they just want to do it all. They love having things be routine and perfunctory so that they can just crank them out. Because you're not the only person they're going to sign this week. They're going to sign 50 other people this week. So whatever streamlines it for them will make them happy. Like I said, this is all anecdotal stuff I've heard from our members over the years, but and you know what? You can go on our forum at forums.taxi.com and ask that question. Because I don't remember, I mean, it's been 7 or 8 years since I looked at the BMI site with my daughter. And I don't remember being able to just register one or the other. You could modify one or the other, but you couldn't just do one or the other. So maybe it's changed. I don't know. Ask the members on the forum, but I can tell you that 99.999% of our members doing instrumental cues don't register them. At least the experienced members don't make that mistake.
Okay. And then just real quick, in terms as far as again, because you're talking about, cranking these out,
yeah,
multiple pieces a week, 90 seconds at a pop. Does the title matter, or
it matters a lot? And I'm so glad you asked that question. It matters a lot. And here's why. You're an editor. You're working 8 hours, maybe 10 or 12 hours a day on a reality TV show. My favorite is the Kardashians. I'm kidding. And so let's say that the editor's working on a scene where Kim Kardashian just got her nails done and they're really long. They got lots of polish on them and she can't unscrew the cap of the milk container. Oh, poor Kimmy. And they need music that's like wah, 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 for when she fails at that. And so the editor who's putting in the music reaches into their digital bin and looks for disappointment music. And they find 12 cues that would reflect disappointment in one way or another. And their eye is going to go to the one that has the title that sounds the most right. So in this case, something like Epic Fail or Try That Again versus, I'm trying to think of something, really inane right now and I can't, but, people title songs like Kimmy song. Yeah, well, that's wrong because she's Kim. Deborah's song. What the hell is that about? That doesn't tell you anything about the music. So yes, creating a short, pithy title that telegraphs what the music is going to sound like is pure genius. And that is one of my golden rules for getting your music not only signed by a publisher, but used by the end user, which is usually an editor on a reality show. So glad you asked that question.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, Lori, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi there.
Hi, Lori.
Hi there. I'm brand new to Taxi, and this is great. There's just so many questions and so little time, right? One of my questions was, can or should I upload my MP3s to this account that I just created on Taxi now, or wait until I do it as a listing, submit to a listing?
I would say go ahead and do it now. And here's the reason why. A lot of members wait until the last darn minute to make a submission. They're out to dinner and they go, oh my gosh, this thing deadlines, in an hour, I got to go home and do it. So if there are going to be any problems with uploading, which typically there aren't, but you could call the staff if it's hard to figure out or something's not being cooperative. Better to have them up there. So all you have to do is go this listing, that song for this listing, go, rather than, oh crap, I'm having problems at 11 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And to add to that, you do have to have the music uploaded before you can submit it anyway. So,
okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Well, I was saying they don't want to come home at 11 o'clock at night and start the upload to make the submission.
Yeah, just because we get calls from people going, I can't submit my music, but they haven't uploaded their music yet. So you have to have it uploaded.
There you go.
Or people, it's always people on a Sunday night at 11 o'clock, Pacific time that don't understand the upload process, which I just read yesterday somewhere from one of our members saying the site is intuitive. It's so easy to figure out uploads. Some people just don't have that, they're not that techie, not that you need to be. I got my COVID test today. I was supposed to take a picture of a QR code, and the guy helping me was like 24 years old. He's looking at me like, oh man, old dude, QR code. This is going to be a fail. And I made some wise ass comment about it. Sure enough, my phone wouldn't, I hit scan QR code. It wouldn't send me to the website. He just handed me his phone, goes, here you go, old guy. Let me help you with this.
God.
It was embarrassing. Anyway,
Okay.
glad you asked that question.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, ears with eyes, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. Wave your
Hey.
hand so I can see you. There you are. Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for this intro here. I also have known about you guys for quite some time. I graduated in like 2001, and I've known about you guys since at least then. So just kind of getting back, it kind of sparked a question talking about song titles. So you're basically saying make it as descriptive from a cue sort of perspective as you can.
Yeah, if it's a surf track, with like a Dick Dale guitar part in it, I'd call it something like Surf's Up or Hang 10, that way they know what it is.
Yep. And then the other question I had, and I think you covered this, but one of the reasons I signed up is I've been playing for a while, I've been writing for a while, but I'm new to learning about the industry. So for me, getting that feedback, if it doesn't make it, is like worth the price of admission just to learn from that. So for the most part, people do get that feedback unless it gets forwarded, right?
Yeah, you get feedback even if it's forwarded.
Okay.
They're liable to, honestly, people always go, well, why don't the screeners forward? They prefer to forward because it's a lot easier to write, great job, Johnny. I love this and I'm forwarding it, than saying, here's what doesn't work and try this to fix it. So they love to forward. But yeah, you will get something back from the screeners. And it's a standardized form that over the years, we noticed that a lot of the same things get said all the time, like back in the days when we were mostly doing record stuff. It's like your chorus doesn't pop out enough. The writing needs to be bigger. The production needs to be bigger. The instrumentation needs to be different. The drum pattern should change. So we took things that were commonly said, that were common mistakes, and made those check boxes so that the screeners didn't have to find a great way to word it every time, and they could move faster. And we provide 3 boxes where they can type in stuff. And the third box, which appears on the right side of your screen, will say the reason this wasn't forwarded is. And so just know that you should always look at that thing that starts out, the reason I couldn't forward this was or is, because sometimes the screener may say, by the way, your vocal was a little pitchy on this. And then the members go on a forum somewhere and go ballistic. It's like, I can't believe they didn't forward this because there was one pitchy note in a 3.5-minute song. No, the screener said they didn't forward it because it was a song clearly written for a male artist when the listing clearly asked for something for a female artist. And by the way, just want to let you know that the vocal was a little pitchy on that one note. So pay attention to the right-hand box to find out why it was or was not forwarded. The other stuff is just them trying to be helpful.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was
You're
great.
welcome.
All right, Steve, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm a new
Steve.
member, and this is very exciting. I had a kind of specific question. I plan on submitting quite a bit to the instrumental cues. I'm a longtime guitar player and keyboardist, but once in a while, I'll write something that's just begging for a vocalist, and I don't do vocals, I don't write lyrics. I wanted to know how to put something on the Taxi forum in that vein and still protect myself if it does have potential to go somewhere. So
if it's a song that you think could be a single or a cut, with a major artist, register the copyright and don't wait for it to come back from the us.gov site, because, COVID will be a thing of the past by the time you get notification, but do know that once you've made the submission to register a copyright online, that as long as you've got that receipt that shows that it was sent in, you don't have to wait for the confirmation to come back, which literally could take weeks or months. I would protect stuff that is worth stealing, where there is real money to be made. But again, for what I affectionately call stupid little instrumental cues, why bother? You know, why?
In that vein, like, so I could register the copyright from my part of it, even though it's before there are words or anything like that, or before a vocal?
No, you would have to register the copyright. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that part. So first of all, yes, you can find collaborators. You can absolutely go on our forum and say, I've got this type of song and I'm looking for a vocalist to collaborate. Typically amongst members, especially in the film and TV side of things, if there's a vocalist that just knocks it out of the park, usually they'll end up splitting 50-50 because they know that that vocalist is going to come back to them someday and reciprocate and probably introduce you to some of their friends. So it all works out for the best in the wash. I don't know that I would give somebody half of a copyright for a song that I'm going to pitch to a big artist on a major record label. So you could still use the Taxi forum to find somebody. Also hanging out in the chat room for TAXITV, not a bad place to say, by the way, doing this kind of song, need a vocalist. In that case, for a big song or a song you're going to pitch to a big artist on a major label, I would say, you know, normally I might do a 50-50 for a film and TV thing on this. But if they're writing a lyric, it should definitely be a 50-50. If you've already got a lyric and they're just singing it, I would offer to pay them like $100 to sing it. And then you need them to sign a work for hire agreement, because you never want anybody to come out of the woodwork 2 years later after Ariana Grande cuts your song and it ends up in the next James Bond movie. And the person who sang that vocal is, you know, watching the movie in a theater and goes, I came up with that vocal line. I changed that lyric. I changed that melody. And next thing you know, you got a little problem on your hands that won't be so little. But if they signed a thing that simply says, and you can find these things online for free. You can buy them for relatively inexpensive bucks. Basically a work for hire agreement that says, I, Melody Johnson, sang the lead vocal on this song on this date, was paid $100 and have no further claims to the copyright or masters of this recording. That's really all it's got to say.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
All right, Morgan, you can go ahead and unmute.
Awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Hey, Morgan.
Cool. Hey, so I just had a question. As like a versatile instrumentalist, I'm going to be kind of like honing on the instrumental side at first as I get started and get familiar. I already favorited a lot of the listings that I liked last night.
Good move.
So my question is, in terms of like success, what would be a good amount of submissions you would want to try and aim for either every week or every month to kind of start that pathway towards success? Obviously, like all the submissions are going to be different. Maybe 1 month there's going to be a lot more opportunities for instrumentals. Maybe the next month it's like they're all gone, whatever the case is. So it's gonna vary, obviously. But what would you suggest is like kind of a good?
That's a really good question. The answer is there's no, there's no number, because two people, let's compare two Taxi members. One of them is doing submissions with really good music and gets a lot of stuff signed. Another Taxi member sent in a lot of B material that didn't get signed. So they both made, let's say, 10 submissions a month, which would be a lot. I would say the average active member who's working it well makes 2 to 4 submissions a month. That's probably realistic. We have a member, I just spoke to him last Friday, guy named Carl from Kentucky. And Carl said, he told me this before, but he repeated himself by saying, I made 350, or I've had 350 pieces of music forwarded by Taxi, and I haven't had a deal offer on any of them yet. And I was like, okay, that's an extreme example. I need to personally get involved in researching this one. What we found out was Carl was very good at making drones, the kind of stuff, not the little Ford propeller thing that flies around your backyard with flashing lights on it, but the kind of drones that are on like Vice Channel. They're almost a melodic, really flat, really simple. There's nothing going on because it's just a drone that happens like, you know, if you've ever watched anything on the Vice Channel, you know what I mean. They put drones on everything. They kind of made drones famous starting back about 5 years ago. Carl was the drone master. Every time he sent one in, it was getting forwarded. How many drones does a library need? So just by the luck of randomness, Carl may have been the 16th drone on the list when we sent it to the supervisor or the library owner. He never got offered any deals on that stuff. And I said, Carl, he's a pretty religious guy. I said, Carl, you're a man of faith. You need to trust me and just have faith that eventually you're going to hear from some companies on this stuff. So Carl did. And he told me last Friday that of those 350 pieces of music, which is excessive, I mean, just like off the chart, he now has deals, I want to say, with like 5 different publishers, because eventually they did call him. Now, if you were doing something hip hop, they love hip hop. If anybody, you know, like put a gun to my head and say, tell me in 10 seconds, what's the most frequently asked for, the most frequently used form of instrumental music? Hip hop. It's because it's very popular on the radio, and oftentimes the shows want to mimic what's going on in the real world right now. They're not looking for something that sounds like, you know, 1974, you know, acoustic strummy pop, you know, Me and You and a Dog Named Boo or Afternoon Delight or any of that stuff. A lot of people that are my age still make that kind of music. Why isn't it getting signed? Because nobody needs it unless they're doing a show that takes place in 1974. Hip hop, on the other hand, is everywhere. So you've got Carl getting 350 pieces of music forwarded with, and then somebody else getting 350 forwards with hip hop. The hip hop person is going to end up with 150 or 200 deals, while Carl ends up with a handful. So there's the answer. There's no magic prescription. There's no math that really works out. It's so dependent on the context of what you're making.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's really, really good advice. And I'll keep that in mind.
Don't do a lot of
Yeah, I'll try and avoid that.
All right, Romy, the architect, you can go ahead and unmute. Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
No, you got it. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey,
All right,
Romy.
so I am really, really new. Like, I want to say maybe at least doing research part of it. I maybe have about 2 months. So I still got a lot to learn. But one of the questions I have, the naming. And I'm glad you touched on the hip hop part of it, because that's what I do. I do urban, you know, some Spanish and stuff like that. So, but
Ooh,
like
good.
the name.
By the way, hip hop with Latin vocals, we have little bursts, little moments where all of a sudden we get a lot of requests for that. So look at the listings every day.
Yeah, I think I saw one last night, which I favorited too.
Great.
But the naming of the tracks, since I'm doing, you know, instrumental hip hop and stuff like that, does that also apply to you guys, so that you guys could kind of sort out, you know, when you're looking for a specific
song? Because we're not looking at a big list and picking the next thing to listen to. The computer automatically does that for us. So a screener sits down to start their day. They log into their screener account and it says, what listing are you working on? And you click the listing or the person who assigned you. I forget exactly how it happens, but the bottom line is they say, I'm working on listing 123 XYZ, go. And the first piece of music just pops up on their screen. So the title has no relevance for getting, you know, anything better out of Taxi, but
Right.
if Taxi forwards it, it's got a lot of relevance.
Okay. And just any advice, like in terms of preparation before jumping into it? Because I already have maybe about 9 tracks up there, but anything that I maybe should have done that I didn't do other than research and preparation, maybe legal wise, copyright and
No,
stuff like that?
I think that the best thing you can do is just keep looking at the listings all the time, and definitely go back, go to YouTube. Bria will post a link to our YouTube channel, if you would kindly. And we've got just so much content about helping you guys get better. And frankly, like I said, it's not like a typical classroom situation where,
Right.
I'm standing in front of a slide presentation or something like that. It's more informal. It's kind of like this, but the TAXITV episodes are 90 minutes. The Quarantini happy hours may not be as valuable. That was something that we started doing when everybody went on lockdown and members just wanted to hang out together. So we would do an hour-long hang on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, talk about the gophers in my backyard or the tomatoes I was growing, or somebody's mom was sick and in the hospital. I mean, we became like a little family. So I don't know that I would recommend watching past episodes of Quarantinis unless there's something in the title that says that we talked about hip hop instrumentals that day. And sometimes there will be titles that'll tell you about that.
Right.
But that's the best thing you can do, is just soak up all the education from Taxi. And I know it's a pain in the butt. It's like, I'm going to make a commitment to sit down for an hour and a half every day and watch a video of this guy in Los Angeles. If you watched this past Monday's episode, the comments under there really shocked me, how much people are saying that they've learned from Taxi and TAXITV. So that's the best thing you can do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you guys something truly life-changing right now. And thank you for being the person that suggested it. You need to buy these two books, which are going to be blurry because I've got the blurry background thing going on. Oh, crap. Okay. Well, this one's called Writing Production Music for TV by Steve Barden, B-A-R.
The link is in the chat too.
There you go. Bria's got the link for you.
That was actually my last question, by the way, because I know somebody else is waiting. Structure wise, I know producing a song. Oh, okay. All right.
So these two books, Writing Production Music for TV by Steve Barden. He's a Taxi member that is very successful, does instrumental stuff for film and TV. He's also a full-time computer programmer, I believe, for Disney or somebody like that. So he does it part-time and makes a really nice second income, and he's very good at it. This book, indispensable, and it kind of gives you a broad overview of the whole industry and talks very specifically about the music. And this book, also from another one of our successful Taxi members. Sorry, it's blurry. I'm still blurry. It's called Demystifying the Genre, and it's by a guy named Dean Krippaehne, Krippaehne. I've known him for 20 years. I still can't spell it. Dean Krippaehne. He's got two books, one called Demystifying the Genre and one called Demystifying the Cue. They are both worth reading. My personal preference is the skinny one, Demystifying the Cue. And there's a reason for that, which is he's got links. He tells you what kind of instrumentation, how many tracks, how he produced it, and provides you with the link so you can listen to it. And he talks about, I'm so glad you mentioned like the arrangement, the construction of a cue, which, just FYI, a cue is an instrumental that is generally on one melodic theme from start to finish for about 90 seconds, give or take. And it will have variations on a theme, but not too far afield. And in the middle, it'll probably have like a middle eight that's kind of a bridge, and that's a B section. And basically, boom, 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 right into it. And you're into the A section, which is in this case kind of analogous to a chorus in a song. And you start out, with 3 or 4 or 5 instruments, then you add another instrument every 4 bars. You add something
kind of like a buildup,
right, to keep it interesting. And then in the middle, boom, you collapse it all down. You do the bridge for 4 or 8 bars. Then you come out of that, build, 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 and then send it home. Depending on the kind of music, if it's like a pop rock thing or a hip hop track, send it home with an exclamation point on the end, and that's called a buttoned ending or a stinger ending. A buttoned ending, in my personal vocabulary, is dun 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 boom. It
Right.
just buttons right back to the downbeat in the tonic. A stinger ending is ta-da. Like you could cut that piece right there on the ta of ta-da and use that for a door slam in a reality show and get
Or
paid
like
for
flow
that.
to the next scene of whatever show. And
Yep,
got it.
exactly. Yeah, watch. I'm telling you, force yourself to watch, whatever popular reality shows, and they range. It could be a reality show about decorating houses on HGTV that'll have a lot of positive, light, lilty, acoustic guitar based stuff. That's one kind of instrumental music. You could watch Love and Hip Hop. That'll be mostly hip hop music in there. It's
Right.
called dramedy, which is, drama comedy music.
Mhm.
And it's oftentimes like a hip hop beat with pizzicato strings laid on top of it. And it sounds a little badass, like something bad is going to happen or something funny just did happen. You'll see. Watch an episode of Love and Hip Hop and read Dean's book and you'll go, I get it. You will literally be a year ahead of where you are right now in a week.
I'm gonna check my bank account, but I'm gonna try to grab all 3 of those books, but I gotta check the bank first. So
Yeah, well, you know what? Dean's book is like, I don't know, $10. Just buy this one for starters.
yeah, all right. Gotcha.
Okay.
Appreciate the information, man. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. All right, 1 or 2 more, and then we're going to call it a night.
All right, Buen Rostro, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. I see you.
Thank you. Well, I will first ask to be forgiven because my English is not the best. But
that's okay. I was born. It's my first language, and mine's not so good either. You're fine.
Okay, thank you. We are from Mexico, and almost all of our music is in Spanish. I have already listened that instrumental music is have a better a better recite. But is there any restriction if we only submit music in Spanish?
No.
Or do you have an advice for that?
Yeah, I've got advice, which is we get a lot of Latin music requests from companies, and they ask for Spanish vocals, and we don't have a lot of members that submit for that. And it's a chicken and egg problem, because we want to keep those listings, those opportunities coming in, but not very many of our members have vocals in Spanish. So you're in pretty good shape. You may go through a dry, you know what, do instrumentals and songs with Spanish lyrics. That way, if there's a valley where there's no listings for Latin music coming in, you can still work on the instrumental stuff. And then when the Latin music requests come in where they need vocals in Spanish, you'll be one of not very many members submitting. You'll be a big fish in a little pond.
Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, one more, you guys.
All right, Kyle Johnson, you can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, you guys.
Hey, Kyle.
I've got a kind of a clarification question. There's a dramedy cue that's up on the listing now, and a lot of these dramedy cues, to me, they all sound very similar. They've got kind of a percussive thing with some shakers in the background, some pizzicato strings. And then in the instructions, it says, do not copy reference material in any way, shape, or form, but they all sound similar to me. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating sort of the same vibe with the pizzicato strings and the shaker thing going on, but in a different key with a different lead in. Instead of half steps, da, 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 it might be da, 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 coming in a different direction. It's like, as long as I'm not fully plagiarizing it, that's not considered copy.
Yeah, I mean, and having, pizzicato strings and a shaker, and you can have identical instrumentation. Basically, look, we have to put that in there for legal reasons.
Okay,
Excuse
got
me,
it.
number one. Yeah, and yeah, you're right on the money. So many of those dramedy cues sound the same. And if I can give you any advice, the libraries all have a lot of dramedy music, And they really like it when we send them something that sounds very familiar, like it's got the pitsy strings in it, and it's got, you know, some sort of malleted, you know, like a marimba or something in there. And then maybe try something else that is like, how about, you know, putting the palm of your hand on your acoustic guitar strings and doing, combining that plucky sound with your pitsy strings, just something that gives it a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe even a little bit of garlic oil, and makes it sound just a little different. Not so different that they go, whoa, that is like too different, but just a little salt and pepper. That way they'll go, oh, I don't have one that sounds quite like that, and be more interested in signing it.
Okay, and another quick question.
Sure.
My daughter loves to sing. I'd like to use her on some of my tracks.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of, do I get to own the copyright on that? It's because she's my daughter, I could use her talent?
Yeah, and I don't even think you would have to have her sign a work for hire agreement because she's your own daughter.
I've kind of got the 3-ring circus thing you were describing earlier with lots of going on, things broken all the time. I'm probably likely to be getting up at 4:30 in the morning. But
I'm telling you, Google Randon, Randon Purcell and Taxi.
Okay.
And you'll see interviews we've done with him, or, you know, whether they're print or video. Bria's looking right now so she can throw one in there. He's such an inspiration. He's a very low key, straight ahead, just American guy, you know. I mean, there's nothing exceptional about him other than he's exceptional, but he's so low key, you would never guess it. But who the hell gets up at 4:30 in the morning every day? But you know what? He's successful because of that. So if you can do it, do it. There you go. From Taxi Music to Everyone. That's the transmitter interview with Randon Purcell that Bria just put in there.
Yeah, there's 4 parts of it, so I put the first one.
Well, yeah, they can follow the links to go to the
exactly
other one, right.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I really truly, from the bottom of my heart, believe that by being here tonight and joining us for this, that you will all be able to succeed much more quickly with Taxi. And just know, people always ask this question, did you make your $300 back in a year? It's kind of a dumb question. It's like, you know, you opened a pizza shop. Did you make a profit in the first year? No, you're probably lucky just to keep the doors open. There are very few businesses, especially something like music, that take off in that first year. It takes persistent and consistent work. I know it's hard not to get discouraged. We even have a video. You guys are going to have access to the Road Rally videos from our convention that we did in November of 2021. You'll see a link on your member profile page that takes you there. We've got an interview with a friend of mine who's a therapist, a shrink. And he was also a Taxi member, and he's also a really good musician. And he talks directly about how to deal with rejection in the context of being a Taxi member and a musician. So if you're ever having a bad day and you want to like mail us, a package that goes tick, tick, tick and explodes upon opening, watch that first. All right, you guys, thank you for hanging out with us. Bria, thanks for staying up late. And yeah, just know that my staff is there to answer any more questions you might have. Okay. Good night, everybody.